my number one goal in life is to be someone of good character as I get older. And the only way to do that is to go through the hardship. But most people just don't want to go through the hardship. You ask most people though, like, do you want to be a good person? Do you want to have good character? They'll say yes. If you say you also have to suffer, most of the people just don't want to do it.
9 times out of 10, people can't actually run businesses based on this fact. And it's funny because I did an Instagram post like a couple of weeks ago where I said, I firmly believe that not everyone is cut out to run a business. And if you had asked me this the last podcast that we recorded, I'd be like, yeah, anyone can do it. Like if you've got a passion, you've got a purpose, you can do it, babe. And now I'm like, no, there is a certain type of person that is cut out to run a business and not everyone can do it. Because it requires emotional intelligence, grit, perseverance, and not being afraid to fail and put yourself in hard rooms and hard conversations.
I feel nauseous, believe me. Never had a lot of shit come easy. Had to work hard, struggle just to be me. Had to rise up just so they could see me. Did what I had to do just to feed me. And what was left over I put towards my dreaming. But the only thing in life that has meaning are the things you gotta work for, believe me. Take into your hands a plan, your own hands can land your own brand. And damn, I feel like no one takes accountability. They want the credibility, convincingly unwilling to put in the...
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the pod. It's been a while since we've had a chat about business and all things scale. I've had a little bit of time off and I'm not sorry for it, so whatever. We've got a good guest today. It's been a while since Kate and I have spoken. Welcome, Kate Morris.
Thank you. Hello. I'm so excited to be back.
I should bring that a little bit closer.
Oh, sorry.
There we go.
Every time I'm on this podcast, you're like, get closer to the mic, and I feel so far away. I think it's because I talk really loud, so I don't want to be like screaming into the people's ears.
That's fine. That's fine. We can deal with that later. That's post-production problem. It has been a long time since we've done an episode, and the last time we spoke, it was more about training and nutrition, but fuck that, because that stuff's like, we've done that for a long time.
Yeah.
I thought we'd get you in today and talk all about your more recent venture into the business mentoring space, what you've noticed from it, what you've done in your own business, and I guess where you see the landscape of the business mentoring world at the moment. I think for everyone at home that is listening, Kate and I, I'll be the first to say, we both have very different branding tactics. We have both very different, front-facing strategies, but that's not to say that there's not going to be similarities in the way we actually mentor or in the way we believe in business. I'm sure there's going to be some things that we disagree on, but I think that's going to make for a cool conversation. So let's dive in. Let's give everyone a bit of a brief understanding of like your journey so far into the business world.
Yeah. So I started out as a PT in a gym. This was 6 years ago now. I think I'm coming into my 6th year of business. So I was doing face-to-face coaching, and then obviously COVID happened, forced into lockdown, pivoted into the online space. I remember at the time I didn't know anything about online coaching or running a business online because I've always worked with mentors. So when I finished my face-to-face coaching, I went straight into a mentorship. And then when I finished my Cert 3 and 4, went straight into a mentorship. And then when I finished face-to-face coaching to go online, I had no idea what I was doing. So I decided to hire a business mentor. I think I spent all of my savings. I think I had $6,000 in my bank account. I had to borrow $500 from my mum and pay this guy $6,500. So from there, I pretty much in 3 months made $150,000 into my business, pivoting into the online space. And then it's kind of just grown and grown from there. But recently, I think the last time I was on the podcast, I think I briefly mentioned that I wanted to get into business mentoring.
Yeah. But I literally said you have to do it yesterday. Yeah,
but I hadn't launched it, right? So I think I briefly had spoken about it, but like I hadn't really launched it. And then I think after that, I decided to go ham on it. So now my business, I still do online coaching, a little bit of it. I dabble in a little bit of it. But mainly my business at the moment is all kind of business mentoring, one-on-one, doing lots of masterclasses, seminars and workshops.
Awesome. Cool. Let's kind of address some of the psychology and some of the roadblocks that you faced from going from a PT to straight into the business world and actually mentoring. Because I know last time we spoke, you were hesitant. You were like, I want to do it, but I'm not ready, and so on. So there was perhaps a little bit of imposter syndrome.
Oh, huge.
So let's talk about that and how you actually got over it.
I love how you say little. I'm like, I was riddled with imposter syndrome. That was like my middle fucking name. Honestly, it was a joke. So I spoke about doing business mentoring with like my friends and family and people that knew me really closely, probably for like 1.5 to 2 years before I actually launched it. And then I was just so afraid, probably of the fear of failure or maybe even the fear of not knowing enough. They were like the two things that probably held me back the most because obviously I haven't gone to uni and done a business degree, right? But I've built a really fucking amazing expansive, scalable business. But in my head, I was like, I don't have a piece of paper that tells me I'm good at something.
Yeah.
So that doesn't mean that I can do it. And even now, like I even cop hate comments being like, but what am I getting out of doing your mentoring? Like what piece of paper am I getting? And I'm like, well, you're not really getting a piece of paper, but you're getting years of experience and knowledge and a pure time collapse of the stuff that I've done really well and the stuff that hasn't worked for me. So I struggled for a really long time. Fear of failure, imposter syndrome, the fear of not knowing enough, and then actually taking the leap to launching it, which was so fucking scary.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. I think imposter syndrome, it's even within like a client facing like B2C and B2B, like it's always going to be something that like comes up, and it's something that's I guess a pretty rampant feeling within like this landscape of business. One thing that like I found to try and figure that out for myself, because I went through all the same things as well. I was like, fuck, yeah, I've run this thing for, when did I start actually business mentoring? 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Right. So I'd ran Lionstone for 8 years, did some mentoring in between, but nothing like that was not my full-time passion. And I was like, cool, I don't know if I'm like ready to shift into this. And to your point of like not knowing enough, it's the way that I kind of combated that was stage situational awareness.
Yeah.
So I was never going to work with someone that had made $1 million more than me. I was only going to work down.
Yeah.
So you've learned every lesson below that.
Yeah. 100%.
Right? Like, and I'm a firm believer of anyone that is like doing a larger amount of rev than you, or more specifically larger rev, because like a PT working for themselves is more specifically profitable than most businesses. However, most people that are doing a larger rev than you have a skill set you don't have.
100%.
So, or they're doing something you are doing better, or they know something you don't. So I was like, okay, if I just look at where we are in total rev, use that as the measuring stick, and I can go down from there and help anyone below. Okay, there's no imposter syndrome anymore because I've done it.
Yeah.
And I've got the evidence to suggest that I'm correct.
Yeah. I think a big thing for me as well was like being the small fish.
Yeah.
So when I was an online coach purely, I felt like, I mean, this sounds kind of up myself, but I felt like I knew everything. Like I kind of had done it all. I've done it for so long. I had answers to pretty much everything. Like I'd seen the trends. I'd seen the things that were working well, the things that weren't, whatever. And I knew how to be a really fucking good coach. But then when I was shifting into the business side, I realized that there was still a lot I needed to learn. And I decided to put myself in a room full of bigger fish. So I started investing in different kinds of mentors, in different seminars, in different workshops, and just getting in spaces where I felt really uncomfortable, where I could learn more from people that knew more than me. And then that way I can start to implement that and change things that I'm doing and teach people X, Y, and Z. But for me, I was like, I feel like I don't know enough. Okay, the only way I'm going to learn is to learn through people that know more than me, essentially.
Learn through experience.
Yeah.
Too. Like you can find all the people that know more than you. But again, let's say you get in the room with someone that makes, I don't know, $10 million a year. They're so detached from the problems of someone that's making high six figures to a seven figures or even multi-seven, right? It's like, okay, that stage situational awareness probably won't help you. They're going to tell you all of the strategical plays that require like hundreds of thousands of dollars of capital. Like, okay, maybe I can't do that. So I think the best way to kind of combat that is, yes, to your point, is get in rooms with people that can help and that have experienced it, and just show you that there's more. Because I think that's the bigger drive, is like, it's possible. Because I think a lot of the business owners that I speak to is just like, I can't charge that much. I can't make that much. All these belief statements that they label themselves with.
Self-imposed.
And they live to them.
Yeah.
If you label yourself with those standards, or you let other people label you with those standards, you will live to them. And I think being around other people that kind of have done more, can do more, it's like, okay, well, fuck, let's go. Let's buckle up.
Yeah. It's like if she can do it, I can do it kind of thing.
But there's nothing beats experience.
Yeah.
You have to fail.
100%. Oh, the amount of things that I've failed on in the last 6 years, I have so many stories of those. That could be a whole nother podcast. But then my list of successes is 10 times higher than that, because every time that I fail at something, I just learn how to do it bigger and better and refine it and use it as data collection to see what worked really well and what didn't.
Yeah. Well, I'm the same. Like a couple of years ago, I got this tattoo, character is currency.
Yeah.
And I firmly believe that character is built through failure and hardship.
Yeah.
And like my number one goal in life is to be someone of good character as I get older. And the only way to do that is to go through the hardship, but most people just don't want to go through the hardship. You ask most people though, like, do you want to be a good person? Do you want to have good character? They'll say yes. But if you say you also have to suffer, most of the people just don't want to do it.
Yeah.
So
because it's scary, right? Like if you're made to look like a failure, and this is what I deal with, because I work with a lot of my one-on-one clients are pretty much like small business owners. And what we were talking about before we started recording was there is a lot of emotion in small business, right? So there's a lot more on the line. There's a lot of that imposter syndrome. There's a lot of that self-doubt. And there's a lot of kind of putting themselves in a box where they don't want to have their back up against a wall. And 9 times out of 10, and I know this sounds really savage, 9 times out of 10 people can't actually run businesses based on this fact. And it's funny because I did an Instagram post like a couple of weeks ago where I said, I firmly believe that not everyone is cut out to run a business.
Fully agree.
And if you had asked me this the last podcast that we recorded, I'd be like, yeah, anyone can do it. Like if you've got a passion, you've got a purpose, you can do it, babe. And now I'm like, no.
Fuck that.
There is a certain type of person that is cut out to run a business, and not everyone can do it. Because it requires emotional intelligence, grit, perseverance, and not being afraid to fail and put yourself in hard rooms and hard conversations.
Yeah, well, if you look at like business spread out over a long enough time horizon, the only way you win is by keep moving. And like the only way, it sounds so silly to say it, but the only way you lose is if you stop.
Yeah.
Right. Like people talk about failure like it's a state of permanence.
Yeah, it's like a black and white statement.
Yeah.
You either fail and you're done, or you don't fail and you keep going.
Yeah, or like this strategical play failed, so therefore I am a failure. And it's like, no, that thing failed, but your business only fails when you stop. And like failure is not a state of permanence that you can actually sit in forever. It's if most people, and this is where not many people are cut out for it, because they sit and wallow in that sorrow of fail and play the victim. Like, why didn't it work? It should have worked. Well, it fucking didn't.
Yeah.
Like move. It's okay.
Like keep going.
Yeah.
Do it bigger and better next time. Refine it. Use it as data collection. Keep moving.
Yeah. What are some of the points for data collection that you will kind of pay attention to see if something was a success or not? Obviously, money is the biggest one, but
yeah, I guess outside of money. So mainly my business is run on Instagram. That's where I pretty much get all of my leads. If it's not through Instagram, it's through like automatic mail systems. So I use like an email subscription system as well. And I do have a website. So they're like kind of the 3 main funnels that I would look at. So I think the biggest thing in terms of data collection for me is obviously sales. So how many people are actually buying the product that I'm launching. So I do like a lot of masterclasses and things like that. So how many people are buying the product? Also, asking my audience what they need and what they want, because I think as business owners or even as fitness coaches, for example, we tend to assume we know what our audience needs because we think we know what they need. But 9 times out of 10, we're actually wrong. So I like to pay attention to what my audience actually needs, as well as obviously conversion of sales and making probably, I know this sounds like a small metric in terms of the big systems of business, but what works well on Instagram in terms of likes, saves, comments, views, and things like that. So if I notice, for example, I only get, say, 100 likes on a post, but I have 200 people save it, I know that something's working. There's something in the background there. What do I need to do more? Maybe I need to push more grid posts or more stories about what it is that I'm actually selling. Maybe I need to educate my audience more on what a masterclass actually is or what a mini mind actually is or whatever it is that I'm selling. This
is a game that you play far better than I do as far as the Instagram, I guess, front-facing appearance.
Yeah.
Right? And that's... I would assume a choice to play that emotional road and play that data acquisition and looking at the numbers and go, okay, well, if this elicits more of a response, I'm just going to do more of that. What was the choice around going down the Instagram road that is like your main acquisition funnel, and like why, and what's your way of doing it, just so we can kind of give the viewers a little bit of an understanding?
Yeah, so I started to notice the trends in my sales, to be honest, where people were purchasing from me based on who I am as a person, not necessarily the results that I'm getting. So obviously, the results speak volumes. When I post a post about how much money one of my one-on-one business mentoring clients has made, I get a lot more inquiries and a lot more interest, but also just posting who I am as a person, the stuff that I do, the stuff that I navigate through, and being a little bit vulnerable online actually converts a lot more people than I probably ever thought that it did. So when I was just PT, I never paid any attention to this. I was always results focused. I would post before and afters. It was very like, if you work with me, this is what you'll get, results, results, results. And then as I stepped into business side, I was like, actually people are really interested in how I've done this, what I've gone through, how I struggled with my imposter syndrome. And I remember being in like the depths of hell with my imposter, being like, I need support somewhere, and I couldn't fucking find it. I couldn't find a mentor that was like speaking the same language as me. And I thought, okay, if I'm feeling this, there's going to be hundreds of women that feel the same way stepping into business. And to be honest, like there are some really powerful women in business, but I just felt like there was a mark missing in terms of that kind of world. Small business owners struggling with imposter syndrome, struggling actually just doing it. And that's where I thought I'm going to have a point of difference and come in here.
Do you think there is a line to that? Do you think there is a line that they're going down the road of the emotionality in specifically business mentoring? Because if we draw a hard line of what business mentoring is versus like life coaching or like life mentoring, do you think there's a line of which can be crossed or people do cross of going too hard on like the individual, not just the strategy?
Yeah, 100%. And I think, again, this is going to sound savage. I think you see a lot of clown coaches coming into play here because you'll see people that start, and look, everyone can do what they want to do. Little preface by saying that I'm not being an asshole, but I think a lot of people get into business mentoring because they see that there is quite a lot of money to be made in business mentoring. But these people that are getting into it haven't actually run businesses, in my opinion, for a long enough time.
Yeah, I'm just going to say it without the preface. It's fucking shit.
Yeah. One of us has to be more savage.
Well, this is what I mean. Kate and I are very different in the way we brand, and that's absolutely okay. And I'm not going to assume it's intentional.
Yeah.
Right. You attract a certain type of person. I attract a certain type of person, and that's amazing. But I fully fucking agree, because if like here's the red flag for you guys. If you're getting advice from someone that is a quote unquote business mentor, but the only business they have run is mentoring, like if that's where they've made their money in business is teaching you how to run a business. I liken this to the analogy of a fitness director in a health club. Yeah. They've taken a $55,000 wage to teach you what they didn't do so you can be more successful.
Yep.
Right? Business coach is very similar. They had a failed business, some business coaches. Failed business. Fuck, that was hard. So let me just try and tell everyone what I've learned or what I've what I can regurgitate from other people, and just convince them to pay me money. Yeah. And then know that if they work harder than I could, they'll get more successful and it will snowball.
Yeah, 100%. And that's what happens. You get a lot of coaches that have been in, I say, quote unquote, business for maybe a year. And I'm like, man, the first year of my business, I was making fuck all money. Yep. I was going through the highs and lows of not knowing what the fuck I was doing. There is no way that I could teach people anything like I teach them today.
But even if you were making fuck loads of money,
there's no way.
Well, if you're in your first year and it's like, cool, when it rains, it pours and you've got a shit ton of revenue, great. What happens if you lose it?
Yep.
Right? And what happens if you then don't go through that? You take on a new client that goes, cool, my business is great. And then 3 months later, they have 2 staff leave that are high revenue earning and you go, fuck, I don't know how to fix this because I haven't been through it.
Yeah.
You're just digging a hole that is impossible to get out of.
Yeah. And what's the statistics? Oh my God, English, Kate. It's like 98% of small businesses fail within the first 3 or 5 years or something like that. So I think it's really negligent if you are a business mentor in your first year taking on business clients, not having been in the depths of everything that can go wrong or can go really right in business. Yep. I mean, this is my 6th year in business and for probably my first year of business, I worked under somebody. So it wasn't actually my own business. So this would be my 5th year technically in my own business. And even now I'm still learning and pivoting and changing the way that I do things. But if you'd asked me in year 1, hell no, I wouldn't be able to help anyone.
So I would say then in that case, imposter syndrome is actually a good thing sometimes.
Yeah.
Because like there are certain points in business where you're like, okay, I don't have the skill set for this. And maybe sometimes that imposter syndrome is correct.
Yeah, 100%. And I also think it's not relying on just falling on it is imposter syndrome. Like if you don't know something, you don't fucking know something.
Yeah.
And that's okay. I
Go
think
find it.
Yeah. I think a lot of people just are like, oh no, that's just my imposter saying that, I can't do this because I don't know enough. It's like, well, maybe you actually don't and you need to get educated on that. And I'm pretty good at kind of being like, okay, I actually need to learn more about X, Y, and Z and actually put myself in rooms with other people that know more. Yep. Or, okay, this is just me being a little bitch and not wanting to, get on Instagram or make sales, or I'm afraid that I'm going to look like an idiot.
I think there's a very big difference between imposter syndrome and just ability.
Yeah.
And that's something that like, it doesn't come up as often with myself and the people that I work with, but it does here and there. And the simple question I ask is like, if they're saying like, one of the big things that I'm trying to work on at the moment for myself is just like reducing belief statements.
Yes.
Right. Like, I get people that say to me like, oh, life is about work-life balance. Like you have to create balance. And like, I don't believe that to be true. right? That's a belief statement of yours, right? Don't label that onto myself.
Yep.
Like I don't believe that life is about balance, because if you talk about balance in its core is like one is push and pull.
Yeah.
And they're in opposing forces. And I don't really want to live my life with something that's always the enemy that I love, right? So I will always try and reduce belief statements. And if people kind of, to circle that back around to imposter syndrome, if people are sitting there saying like, I just don't think, I just can't charge that much. Okay, well, that's a belief statement. Why? Right? Can you just not, have you just not tried? Is your product just not good enough? Because if it's that, it's not imposter syndrome. It's just not good enough.
Yeah.
Right. So a really simple question to ask them. It's like, okay, well, let's just assume it's imposter syndrome. Oh, sorry, let's just assume it's not imposter syndrome. Sell it to me.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean? Sell it to me now. And if you can't say it with conviction, right, it's not imposter syndrome. You just don't know enough.
Yeah.
Right. Because if you can say it with conviction, but then sit there and go, oh, but I still can't do it. It's like, no, you're just talking yourself out of it. Right. So I'd like to, do you mind if we talk money?
Go for it. I'm an open book.
How did you feel when you hit your first 50K month?
Really good.
Yeah.
Really good. That for me was like a massive milestone. It's like a thing, a goal, I guess, that I've written down for a really long time. And to be honest, I hit my first 50K months probably nearly 2 years ago now, right? Like, and it's funny because at that time I was running 8-week challenges, which we spoke about in our first episode of the podcast. You had me on that, and we were running 8-week challenges. And then one day I woke up and decided I didn't want to do them anymore because they were fucking trash. And I got rid of it. And that was making me like $40,000 to $50,000 every 8 weeks into my business, plus the money that I was obviously making from one-on-one coaching and everything else that I was doing at the time and face-to-face and whatnot. So I was making big money there, but I decided to fully can that. I literally woke up one day, canned it, it was gone. And now I've kind of pivoted into business mentoring, where there is a lot more money in business mentoring, but I've come to realize like there is seasons of it, right? So like, to be fully transparent and honest, this is probably the lowest month, or February, sorry, we're in March at the moment, but February is probably the lowest month I've had in a really long time in terms of sales and revenue and money, if we're looking at a monthly spectrum of it. But yeah, my first 50K felt really good. Yeah. Really good.
What about like, do you think do you think if we kind of put yourself in the position of your imposter, do you think one, that was ever going to be possible? But two, after it happened, did you think it was actually, was the feeling long lasting enough to actually make any change to your life?
No.
Yeah.
Do you know what's funny is I wanted that 50K month so badly for so long, because in my head I was like, oh, if I make 50K in a month, and this is really fucked, but I was like, that's going to make me a better coach. That's going to make me be a better coach because I know what I'm doing. Because obviously, like, let's be real, we're all getting into business to make money. Anyone that gets into business and tells you I'm not here to make money is lying, firstly. Secondly,
help people.
Yeah. And like, don't get me wrong, there is a core fundamental value of wanting to help people.
But like, you want to help for a fucking paycheck.
Exactly. It's like you wouldn't go to work, your 9 to 5 and work for free. Like, let's be real. We're not going to do this for free either. But yeah, I guess when I got my first 50K, I was like, yeah, it feels good. But then I'm an overachiever, right? I'm a perfectionist. So I'm like, what's next? When am I going for 70K? When am I going for 80K? When am I going for 100K? Like, let's get there. And then I'll feel happy when I get there. But I know that's not going to be the case. Cool.
So I think that's something that a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of small business owners struggle with is I'll be happy when. Yeah. I'll be settled when. And you pretty much summarized my thought on this is like, you never will be. No. Or at least like if you are, to what we spoke about before, if you are quote unquote cut out for this, like you won't ever be happy. No. Because it's just never enough. It grows and moves. Like I've done some pretty fucking wildly outlandish moves within this business especially the last like 6 months. Didn't really think they'd work. And they paid off. I was like, oh fuck it, we'll just try it. And it worked. And like there was one day, like we did a 100K day and I was like, what the fuck? And I walked around, I went to Woolworths just up the road. And I was literally, that song, that like that TikTok trend that like, they'll never know. Yes. They're never going to know. I'm literally walking around and be like, these motherfuckers don't even know. Right. And then I get to the cash register and I'm like, oh, that's gone now. I've got to pay for this thing. I've got to pay for my bread. Yeah. And now I'm out going to drive my car. I'm going home and my day's normal. Yeah. And I just don't think it ever changes. And it's like, if you live for those highs, the lows will feel so much worse. Yeah. Because and that's what I got into a bad habit with. Like, every time we hit a new milestone, I was like, fuck yeah. But then like nothing is ever consistently up
Yeah.
Right. Like you just said, Feb was a bad month for you. January, February was a horrible, well, 2 horrible months for us.
Yeah.
Right. Like revenue was down by like, it was like nearly 25%.
Yep.
Right. Normally January is like the
peak.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, what the fuck happened? And I just put it down to people wanting to go be social after 2 years of shit. Right. And probably the brand needed to pivot a lot, and whatever, social media was changing. Algorithms were like cooking everyone. But that 25% reduction, it rocked me.
Yeah.
Rocked me massively.
Because
like,
you're so focused on that high all the time, and like, what can I do more of? How can I do bigger and better? Yeah.
Yeah. And for us, like, this is where I made a big fuck up. Like I did like forward projections on, like, so we do 3-way forward projections. So like based on profit, revenue, margins and so on. And I was looking at the forward projections being like, this is what we've got to hit. We're not going to hit it. We're not going to hit it. And I was holding myself to this standard that was literally just a number on a fucking spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Like it means nothing.
Yeah.
Like, we're still profiting, but I'm sitting there thinking like the world's going to end.
But this is where you see, sorry to cut you off, but this is where you see a lot of business owners, oh fuck, okay, February is a really quiet month for me. I'm done. I remember I was in Bali.
Yeah.
I was lying in bed and I was having a fucking mental breakdown, right? Not really, but I was having like a full mental breakdown. I was like in my head, my imposter syndrome, all this shit. And I'm lying in bed and I'm like, that's it. I've hit my peak success. I'm a one-hit wonder and I'm done. And then I just remember falling asleep and waking up in the morning being like, that was fucking stupid, you idiot. Like you'll move on. But you get so focused on, okay, how can I do bigger and better and make more money and do X, Y, and Z, that when you do have a quiet month, you see that a lot of businesses give up. Like that's the point where they're like, oh, well, you know, I've only made 40K this month. Last month I made 70K. So I'm a failure. I'm done.
Yeah.
And that's where people throw in the towel.
What makes you different, you think? What makes you able to kind of get through that?
I think the biggest thing for me is I've got long-term vision. I never got into business for it to be a quick money-making thing. I've always been in this for the long-term goal and the long-term vision that I have. And I know, like, obviously, yeah, we're all in business to make money, but like, I just want to help female entrepreneurs, female business owners make their own income, have financial freedom, and have stability and longevity in their business.
Yeah. And I think that's something super rare, especially in service-based businesses.
Yeah.
Like stability and service, fucking hard, because like if you look at the landscape of most service-based industries, whether it be like personal training, whether it be like, what are some other businesses you deal with, like lash techs, beauty techs, etc.
Web designers. Yeah.
The world is moving at such a fast pace that either if you don't find stability soon, you probably won't. You might age out if you're in an industry that is like more based on a vanity metric, like fitness. And if you don't adapt to your new market or don't know how to, because like, the thing that people fail to recognize is like the market they work with now also grow up. Yeah. Right. And what is attractive to them now, what is goal driven and oriented for them now may not be in 5 years when they have a kid. Yeah. Like, okay, cool. So are you going to stay in the market you have? And as new people come in, like as the 16-year-olds become 21-year-olds, do you service them? But maybe not, because they're going to come in with new life views, new understanding of the world. There's probably going to be some new thing that they're into. New trend, new person, right? New hot thing. It's like, fuck, that's going to be real hard. Or do you continue to grow with your current audience and hopefully expand into other people there? Yeah. And if you don't have someone that knows strategy and what way to go, that your stability is going to be taken away from you with time. Yeah. 100%. Right? The one thing that's normally on most entrepreneurs' side is time. Because like I said before, you extrapolate this out for a long enough period of time, you will succeed. But if you don't adapt with your market, you're fucked. Yeah. Yeah, it's just a downward spiral. Yeah. Business is over. Well, it's funny because when I got into business mentoring, like I'd been speaking about it for 2 years, but the only reason I thought about getting into it is because all these other coaches were following me and seeing the success that I was having being an online coach. They were all asking for business mentoring. But I was so reluctant to do it. And then I started to do that exact thing. Okay, I need to pivot with my market. Like people are asking for this. People are going from working with me one-on-one in fitness coaching to then becoming PTs and wanting to be then online coaches. I need to move with this time as well. Yeah. It's the, okay, this is fucking cool. Olympic ring analogy, right? Yeah. So all the Olympic rings, they touch, right? So the first one, you've got your first business, service-based personal training, right? As you grow that, the natural progression is other personal trainers want what you have. So you start to work with businesses and go from B to C, so business to consumer, to B2B, business to business. You start working with businesses, right? The next logical portion of that Olympic ring, what touches that, all the businesses you work with at some point are going to need something else. What's the next thing, right? And for your audience, I don't know what that might be, right?
Yeah.
For me, it's media, right?
Yeah, right.
All the people I mentor, they get to a point where the acquisition slows down because they can't keep up with the media production of all the social media platforms that we're in now. Like, cool. So our expansion is then launch a media company.
Yeah.
Right. You then create enough media. They're going to get more acquisition, but most people that I work with, are they going to slow down? Their bottleneck is going to be sales. Cool. Build a sales force. Right. And then the next one, it's like, okay. Or maybe one step before that is with the media, they get a lot of organic reach, but they can't get it further. Marketing agency, then a sales, like, there are steps
and they're
that you
all
can
the
go
funnels,
through,
yeah.
and they're funnels that as the people I work with now start to quote unquote age up or their business develops, there's a next thing, right? Rather than me trying to find and acquire new people all the time, I'm looking, what can I ascend people into new strategies?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And like for you, you probably may not have even realized you're doing this, but you're doing it by doing the courses.
Yeah. It's actually funny. I didn't realize until you put that analogy. I was like, yeah, I do that in my masterclasses. How interesting.
Yeah. So like you going from like one-to-one business mentoring, it's like, okay, well, at some point that's not scalable.
Yeah.
How do you make scale? Go one-to-many courses, masterminds, all that kind of stuff. So it's a natural progression to get the people that are already with you or are slightly outside of your grasp because of maybe your price point or maybe their ability to, understand. It's a lower barrier of entry.
Yeah. And I think as well with like masterclasses, if we're talking around like the strategy of them, I think it's a really good way to get your face in front of new people at a lower price point, right? So like if I'm selling a masterclass for say $100, I can get 80 to 200 girls in that masterclass.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden my face is in front of 80 new people that maybe haven't ever seen me in that light or worked with me in that capacity.
Yep.
And then from there, when they're looking for a business mentor or they're ready to invest a bit more money into themselves and their business, they're like, okay, well, I know that Kate knows X, Y, and Z. I'm going to inquire with her. So it's a really great way, I guess, for anyone that's like in business mentoring that's wanting to kind of funnel and make more money to get their face in front of more people. Start doing masterclasses, start doing free courses even. And I know it doesn't make you money right away, but think about the long-term vision.
What's going on, everyone? Hope you're well. I won't keep you too long. I know you're hopefully enjoying the podcast. And if you are, let us know. It would be really greatly appreciated if you can jump on, give us a quick 5-star review. You don't even need to stop listening to the show. If you're on Spotify, you can do it in less than 10 seconds. And it does help the show grow a lot. It helps us, get a bit of confirmation bias that we're doing the right thing. And just to say thank you, if you guys do that, we're going to be picking one person every month to guest spot on the podcast that has shared, liked, comment, subscribed, and interacted with what we do. Big thank you. Let's get back to it. Yeah, it's the second, third, fourth degree of separation. It's like, what comes next?
Yeah.
If you can give, eventually they will ask. I'm going to play devil's advocate just slightly though.
Hit me with it.
I'm a firm believer with for a growth strategy to be sound in like B2B in one-to-many, it needs to be following this analogy, also acronym of digital, automated, reoccurring, and evergreen. So DARE, right? So if you can create a DARE product, it will grow very well and rapidly, right? Only problem to that from what I see, at least in the business mentoring side of things, is you're always having to create new ones.
Yes.
Right? Because it is evergreen. The product is always there. People can always purchase it.
Yep.
You either always have to create new marketing strategies for the same course, or to upkeep with the new acquisition of all these people, because it is at a lower price point, they want more and more things. You're always having to create another course, and consistently have to sell new things.
Yeah.
Does that come with operational drag?
Yes, 100%. But you know what? It's funny that you bring that up, because I was literally thinking about this a couple of days ago. I got into that spiral of like, fuck, I need to be creating more, because when you look into business mentors online, all of them are launching 50 fucking things at one time.
Bro.
And to me personally, that feels heavy. I can't do that. I'm very like big on energy, right? Like if I'm not energetically in something, I'm out.
Yep.
Like it's not going to make sales. It's not going to be good. It's not going to be my best work. People aren't going to want to buy it. So for me, I got caught up in I need to be launching like 4 things at one time. And then I started to realize I can't do that.
Yeah.
And I actually, in the last couple of months, which I guess maybe doesn't reflecting because February was a low month, I started to pull back a little bit, and I've been launching just like 1 or 2 things at a time. Think something like a short course that runs over a month, and then I'll do like a masterclass in on top of that. And I've started to notice like, what date are we now? 17th, and I've already made more money than I made in Feb, and we're on the 17th day in March.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, maybe that strategy does work, and actually not following the crowd of people launching too many things all the time is a good thing.
Yeah, well, if you look at marketing in general, to disrupt marketing and disrupt the audience, don't do what everyone else does. You want to be broke, do what everyone's doing.
Yeah.
Because it's saturation. You're never going to stand out.
Exactly.
And like, there's a few business mentors in our space that come to mind. For me, it's like every second day is a new course.
Yep.
Every second day is a new thing. And it's like heavily weighted with emotion because like, if you guys don't know this, now you do. You buy on emotion.
Always.
And then confirm with logic. So it's a very smart strategical play to go emotion, right? I don't do that because it's like, for me, I don't want to deal with the people that attracts. And that's a decision I made, and that's fine, right? But I think with the whole new course, heavily emotion plays, like if you miss this, essentially saying if you don't do this, you're a shit business owner, right? And that's ultimately what these large emotional proclivities kind of boil down to, is like FOMO, status, and like if you miss out, like you're shit.
Yeah.
Right. And that's okay, in my opinion, in small bursts, right? Because it does result in more rev, right? And you provide, and we said this before, I said this before, is like the only difference between manipulation and help is intention.
Yeah.
So yeah, as long as you provide a product that helps people, it's fine.
Yeah.
Right. But I think there can be a point where it's just overdone and it's draining and it's just like, bro.
And it's too much, and it's also hard to keep up with as a consumer. Yeah. So like, I still look at other business mentors that I potentially might want to invest in. And if they're posting 5 or 6 different offers at the same time, yeah, I can use discernment in like actually reading it and figuring out what works best for me and having emotional intelligence and all of those things. But it's also still like, it can be really fucking overwhelming. It's even if a coach, like a PT, comes on and they've got 16 different offers, a booty program, a tier of this coaching, you get like, it's too much.
Yep. One product, one market, one medium.
Yeah.
You can make $1 million. You can make 7 figures off one product, one market, and one media.
Yeah. That's what I did for years. Yeah. I mean, not 7 figures. I haven't hit that just yet, but maybe the next time I'm on this podcast, I will. But yeah, I made my first 6 figures on one product.
Yeah.
Got rid of my 8-week challenges and focused hard on online coaching. And that's where I saw a massive amount of growth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's literally the only scary part to that is like the one media part, like the one acquisition system, like being Instagram. So like one product, one person, like some one type of person, and then one way of selling. It does pigeonhole you to like, you get banned if you get like hacked or whatever. Yeah. Or the algorithm just dicks you. Yeah. Like it's scary. But this is something we're about to talk about before off camera. I was like, fuck it, we'll talk it on here. Your engagement.
Yes.
Has it dropped?
Oh, 100%.
Cool. Everyone has. Yeah. Like everyone's engagement of late has dropped. What's your thoughts on it? Because you said something out there that was super interesting.
Yeah. So it's funny because, again, I got in my head about it a lot. I was like, oh, it's just me. Like, obviously everyone fucking hates me because no one's viewing my shit, like classic imposter. But then I actually started to realize, and I actually started to look at my sales. It didn't really affect my sales of what I was actually selling at the time that this engagement started to drop at all.
Yep.
What it affected was the rate that I was showing up because I was using that vanity metric. So those likes and all of that to dictate the way that I was showing up on socials. So I actually felt myself pulling back, not wanting to post because I feel like people were like sick of my shit essentially. Because again, I was making it about myself, which is fucking stupid, but we all do it in business. Yep. And then I actually looked at like the figures and I was like, no, I'm still making money. I still have repeating revenue coming in from payment plans and things that people are paying off. I launched a new course that's pretty much sold out. I have only 2 spots left now. And this is all while the algorithm, quote unquote, was down or fucking me over. Yep.
I have found there is a total and complete inverse relationship between engagement and your bank account.
Yep.
You'll find that I've found at least that the less engagement you're getting, the more you're starting to actually hit home with the people that are already in your audience. Yeah. Right. And they are the people that are being nurtured through your pipeline, and they are the ones that end up paying you. The new people in your pipeline, the ones that are new engagers and all that extra engagement you would normally get, that's all new people that don't even know, like, or care about you yet. So I actually tested this, right? We had a really shit January, Feb, right? And it was very like, okay, what the fuck's going on? Is it the engagement? Like we were still having like a good referral rate. We were still getting all of like our attrition was sweet, no worries, right? But our new acquisition was low. So like, okay, what's going on? Is it engagement? And we average about like 16, I think it's like 16.7 organic inquiries per week normally. And then it just started to like slowly shift around. I was like, what's fucking happening here? And I didn't post for a week, right? So with Limestone, we have like a 4 month stuff of posts scheduled. I was like, cool, we're just going to move it all by a week, right? Don't post, no stories, no nothing. Because I thought maybe like we're shadow banned, maybe something's going on. Like we'll just not post. And although we had almost no engagement the week before, still 16 inquiries. Didn't post at all, 0 inquiries. 0. And I haven't had a week of 0 inquiries in a very fucking long time. So we had low engagement but high like inquiry rate. So it wasn't the content engagement. It was just people were starting to maybe not resonate with what we were posting in our lower portion of our funnel. Yeah. I was like, okay, cool. Just adapt and change the way we post content. Yeah. We'll get more. And we went straight back to posting, and not even to the highest degree of what we will be, acquisitions up again. Yeah. So that's me telling you, like, even if engagement is down, don't use it as an advantage metric. Like, it's still worth posting. Yeah, it's still worth posting. And that's exactly like what you just said. You're actually nurturing the people that you want to be working with you, that you've been probably nurturing for the past 4 fucking years. They're the ones that are actually going to buy your product, not necessarily somebody that stumbles across your account, follows you, and within a day, they're not going to buy your stuff like that. No way. Yeah. No way. Like, I've got a couple of people like from the business mentoring side of things that have like, messaged me from a podcast I did like 6 months ago. Yep. Like, oh, I came across this. They're in the UK. They're like, and they're still going back and forth in DMs for like the last 2 months. Yeah. Like, okay, they're still not ready to buy. That's fine. And I never push a sale. I don't even go like, let's get on a call. Me I just wait for them to be like, can I get a call? Same. Sure. No worries. All right. What's your opinion on direct sales like that? Pushy sales? For me as a consumer, massive turn off. Yeah. I fucking hate it. If someone's in my DMs pushing me, asking me a million questions, like pretty much on my dick about it, I'm straight away like, I want to block you. That's how I feel. 100%. Like, I'm straight away like, I will block you, fuck off. Yep. However, I also believe that there is power in follow-ups. So I know I'm a very busy person. I'll open messages and forget to reply, even though it's something that I do want to do. So a power in a follow-up of following up a lead, like, hey, did you want to go ahead with that spot or whatever it is that you want to say to them? There is power in that, but not that pushy direct messaging selling. Yep. For me, that never works. And also the clients that I want to work with me, I want them to want to work with me, not be almost forced into working with me. Yeah, well, because again, coming back to the emotional play, it's like, you want them to be emotional, not forced into logic. Yeah. Right? Because like if people assume the logic and they come to their own logical conclusion, they will be a far better client. Whereas if you're sitting there being like posting emotional content, talking to them about essentially money that they could make or money that you've helped someone else make or insert whatever, right? That's very heavily emotionally driven. And then you're in their DMs being like, book, trying to drive logic. It's the total opposite thing. Yeah. It's just going to create like resistance. Yeah. And I also put it down to this, like if you walk into a shop, for example, and we all know those fucking shop assistants that follow you around like flies, automatically you want to leave. Like you can't tell me that any of you listening today like enjoy that experience because you don't. You want to leave. So it's the same thing in an online business. Don't be that pushy person. Follow up, power in follow-ups, but I don't think getting in someone's DMs and cold selling like you would on a gym floor is probably beneficial at all. I think cold selling is horrible, but I think cold value is good. Yeah. Like they're like a really easy acquisition system that like I've like helps a few of my business people do. Like if their acquisition slows down, instead of just messaging around and following like, oh, thanks for the support. Thanks for engaging with my content. Can I help you with anything? Like everyone can see through that, like go away. Right. What I've got people doing is like cold DM to anyone that follows them or that has engaged with them in the last like 30 days, like etc. Right. Shoot them a quick message. Hey Kate, I just created this new ebook. Would you mind if I send it over to you? All good if not. Yep. Right. That's it. Yep. Right, like I just created this new ebook on how to take your business from 6 figures to 7 figures. I'm just trying to get some feedback, and all good, like, can I send it to you? All good if not. Done. And it leaves them with a decision. You don't have to say yes, right? Move on. Yeah. And people can do that in any business. You got a lash tech, right? Hey, I just created this like video on how to do like lash maintenance at home. Like, can I send it to you? All good if not. Yep. And they go, your only goal is to get a reply. Yeah, that's fine. Sweet. What email? Yeah. It's a free value piece essentially. Yeah, but it's also data acquisition. Yeah. I just got your email. Yeah. Cool. Like now you're stuck with me forever. Yeah. Now it's like, who's that fucking comedian? He's like, gotcha, bitch. Yeah. Literally. Yeah. So that's like easy acquisition. If you get their email and then if you're like, cool, hit them up with an email with another fucking give, and then you finally like just keep giving until they ask for something. Sweet, let's go and call.
And this is literally like selling and marketing 101. Like every big brand company ever does this shit with you. Like I always say to my clients, like think of RACV, roadside assistance. You get in the car, you hear an ad on the radio, you come home, you see an ad on TV, you open your letterbox, there's a flyer in your letterbox. Next thing you know, they've got your email and they're sending you emails and then they have your phone number and they're calling you. Like this is literally marketing 101.
Yep.
It's really interesting.
I love the psychology between marketing and sales. Oh, it's super interesting, and that's
human behavior.
Yeah, you would see it a lot. You like, I think just even with the type of content you post. Like for example, right? Hope you don't mind me saying this. Like, it's clickbaity, right? To write something like $51,000 in a month, right? Because it's going to get people to watch, and that's like play the game, right? It's fucking great, right? It would be silly to sit there and go not use that. What's the human psychology to that? If you don't already understand it, you can't do the next move.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And yeah, it is clickbaity. And I mean, you see it with like everyone's content. Like if you were to
necessary.
post, oh, totally.
Yeah.
Like if you were to post something about losing 10 kilos in 8 days, everyone's going to fucking click on that. Yeah. But yeah, it is. And like the human behavior behind seeing that. And I mean, I've bought into mentors purely based on that as well. And I like to look at my buying capacity as well. Like how do I buy? How do I spend?
Yep.
What do I look at that actually interests me? So I notice that when I'm looking for a mentor, and it sounds vain, but I want to know, how much money do you make? Like plain and simple, I want to know, how much money do you make? Do you work with other mentors so you're a better human? Yep. Do you have emotional intelligence? And do you have good communication?
Yep.
They're like the 4 things for me.
100%. And that's it. Like, cause they're your like barriers of entry.
Yeah.
On a consumption side. Like if you don't tick these boxes, I don't want to work.
Yeah. And then I started to realize, okay, well, the people I want to work with me, I need to be ticking all these boxes. So I need to be openly speaking about money because again, I am running a business. I'm doing business mentoring. It'd be fucking weird if I wasn't speaking about money. 2, I need to be emotional intelligent. 3, I need to make sure that I'm upskilling and working with other mentors so that I'm a better coach as well. And I need to have open communication, which again, like it's funny because I never get hate online ever. I don't know about you. Do you ever get hate?
I'm not on it enough.
Yeah. I never get hate online, right? I got my first ever hate comment, guys.
Wow. Congrats.
I know.
It's a good thing.
I should have had a fucking party. I should have invited all my friends over. First ever hate comment being like, why do you keep posting how much money you're making online? You're looking so money hungry or some fucking bullshit like that. Yeah. And I was like, I literally made a post being like, guys, let's make it normal for business coaches to talk about money. Like hiring a nutritionist and not talking about food.
Yeah. So I slightly disagree.
Really?
Yeah,
okay,
a little
keep me
bit.
with it.
No, a little bit, right? Like I think you made a valid point, and this is where coming back to what I said before is like challenging belief statements. I even try and challenge my own. I think you made a fair point. Like if a business owner is not talking about money, it's like, a business mentor is not talking money. Like, are they really making money? Right? But I think it comes down to brand.
Yeah.
I think there's a caveat of brand because like I only talk about money in the context of strategy.
Yep.
Right. So, because I don't want the emotional person that only wants to come in and make 2 million a year. Right. First time. So I've only ever done 2 posts, and I remember them so clearly about talking about money. One was a cut from a podcast. Was like we did our first $150,000 a month, and this is what I did. Right. But even in that context of the podcast, it was like we did this, and this is the one change I made. Right. And then the second time I did it was for the launch of a seminar that's tomorrow. Sold out. Souls can't come. Oh, this will be already out. So it's already happened. Anyway. That was like, if you think making $2 million in a fitness business is impossible, you need to hear this, right? And then it was like, cool, this is a seminar. We're going to go through every strategical play I did in the last 12 months so you can actually know how it happened. Yeah. And I made that as a conscious choice because I could sit there and screenshot like bank statements. I could sit there and screenshot injections of cash. Yeah. But I know that's purely emotional. And I know the type of person that will attract is someone that's emotional that unfortunately does open you up to people like that, that are like, money hungry, fucking stop doing that. When you post about it, you're accepting the fact that there are going to be people that are emotional, negatively geared.
Oh, 100%.
Right. And I was just like, I don't want that.
Yeah.
So I don't talk about money in the way of like, this is what we make every day. I don't ever screenshot any funds because like, I don't want the emotional people.
You want the strategy driven kind of like tunnel vision people.
Yeah.
See, that's really, we were speaking about this before we started recording, guys, but it's funny because me and Rhys have totally different marketing strategies. Yeah. We work with totally different markets of people.
Absolutely.
And to be honest, I don't think I could actually work with people that you work with, like that kind
Likewise.
yeah, that kind of like just driven. I'm very big on strategy. Don't get me wrong. We have like a lot of education, I should say, good English, around sales, marketing, strategy, building an online presence, building a personal brand. But again, I do work with small businesses, which comes with a lot of emotion. And the way that I market is very much around building your personal brand, and people will buy off like attraction marketing essentially.
Yeah. Do you think then that means like by default your strategy is emotionally charged?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It'd be a bit stupid if I said no to that. Yeah. For sure. 100%.
So like that's like your marketing branding is not even, it's not just like front facing or top down. It's like all the way through consistent, which is great for a business that like, even when you learn strategy, will address like your emotional understanding of sales.
Yeah.
Like your relationship with money.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas I get people like, I just don't think I can charge enough. I'm like, well, let me prove why you can.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. I don't even entertain the thought of like, I don't think I can. It's like, well, let me prove why you should and make it a logical decision for you. I'm going to remove all the emotion.
Yeah. Yeah. But you're more cutthroat.
Very.
You're like way more savage than me.
Yeah.
Me getting on this podcast, I'm like, not to be savage, guys, but yeah, it's totally just a different market. But again, I don't think I could work with people that were just like that kind of geared way, like very strategy focused, and you probably couldn't work with that emotion. Like
I've got one client, like Maddie won't mind me sharing this. Maddie's an absolute legend. She's probably like, she was the person I took on that was the most quote unquote high risk.
Yeah.
She was new.
Yeah.
So she was, I think 4 months into business, making $900 a week.
Yeah.
And she was like, I want to invest in this. Like, let's go. So she paid up front. Like, all right. I was like, we'll see. Right. But Maddie, like, she surprised me really quickly. And she was just like, fuck this, I'm going to go hard. And like 3 months down the track, she made her first 3K week. And then the 3 months down the track, she's hitting like close to 5K weeks. It's like, okay, she's an action taker. But sometimes she slips into that emotional state of like, fuck, like I had 4 clients leave. What do I do? And I just reply like I literally in dot points. Yeah. Just like, this is what you're feeling. This is why we need to change it. This is the solution.
Yeah.
Go.
Yeah. And I think I mentioned this like earlier on in the podcast, but I wanted to work with these kind of people because I was this kind of person.
Yeah.
So like I remember when I started my business, again, imposter syndrome, fear of failure, didn't know enough, took everything personally, am a high achiever, overthinker, all of the things. And then when I was looking for a mentor, couldn't find that person. So I was like, I need to become this person for other women who feel this way. Yeah. And I think as well, like I strictly work with women. I don't work with any males. So I guess if I was working with male clientele, like my market would not be geared towards them at all.
Yeah. But that's a smart decision though.
Yeah.
Like again, it's what we spoke about before. It's one market, one product, one system. Like, you know, women, you know their psychology. Great.
Yeah.
Right. Like what's your plans moving forward? I know you said you want to try, like you're aiming to hit the 7-figure and you will. Yep. What's the strategy for you to do so?
So I think at the moment I'm kind of you've hit me at a weird time in my life right now, Rhys, actually, because the last time I came on this podcast, I was like, I'm getting into business mentoring. And every time I come back here, I'm like making some rash life decision. Yeah. Some fucking change. At the moment I'm sitting in the camp of, do I want to continue fitness coaching route and continue doing online coaching, or do I just want to pivot solely into business mentorship and create more masterclasses, short courses, evergreen products, and kind of funnel it that way and get into more of like sales, marketing, all of that stuff that comes along with it. So I'm kind of, I don't really have an answer for you at the moment because I'm still tossing it up in my head. I've been thinking about it for probably the last month. I've kind of got one foot in, one foot out at the moment, which is probably not a great business decision, but it takes me a bit of time to kind of come to terms with if I want to get rid of something or not. And
do you know why?
I think I just have such an emotional attachment to my online.
Because you're emotional.
Yeah, I've got such an emotional attachment to my online fitness business. Like that is what started this whole fucking journey for me, and I just can't let her go. But I don't know.
Dennis Nostos.
I don't know what that means.
Why not have both?
Why not have both?
You know the little taco ad?
I do know what that means.
Yeah. Right? Like, why don't you, like, if we, like, again, remove emotion, what's the opportunity cost of you staying in one, not the other? Right? What's the higher leverage opportunity? B2B. Business to business, because you can, like, businesses have more money than consumers. right? Businesses value skill set more than consumers. Your skill set and passion is largely more now in business, I'd assume, from the way you talk especially, right? So opportunity cost of you being distracted by fitness versus going all in on business. What if you were to just push someone in, right, into your business, either ghost coach it or hire as a full-time, right? Both have very big pros and cons lists, right? Why not just do that so you can focus on the thing that has higher opportunity? That if you look at it this way, if you go higher opportunity, higher return on investment, more opportunity to reinvest back into the fitness business and make it better, easier, more succinct, more streamlined, and better front facing for the client, because at the end of the day, the client is the hero.
Yeah.
If you have more capital, if you have more time, if you have more strategical thinking, you can look at your product objectively rather than working in it. I'll tell you, like from experience with Lionstone, our product development didn't start to move forward with actual tangible progress until I was out.
Yeah.
Because I was too emotional in the business. Like, this is the way I like running it. This is the way I like doing the service in general. And when I stepped out, I could go, what does the client need?
Yeah.
What do they want? Right. And more to the point, wrap what they need with what they want. Make them feel like the top end is like, this is what I want, this is what I want. And then it's like, no, we're going to give you what you want and then what you need.
Yeah.
And those changes only came when I started to give myself more the time availability that was costing me way more time to be in there and costing me money elsewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't have anything to say to that other than yes, correct.
I think, but this is where like playing into even just the way like you market your brand, that emotionality is like, it is your core product. So it's hard to let go of that.
Yeah, totally.
I can totally understand that.
Totally.
Yeah. With, okay, so strategy is not clear at the moment to what way you're going to go. Let's just go on the hypothetical. If you were taking on a new client tomorrow for a business that was in the same spot you are, what would you say is the best opportunity to grow to the next milestone of 7 figures?
Exactly what you said to me. Go hard into your business coaching. It
also
makes
like specific product development, or what would you do if we were looking at like, what would be the next course you would suggest, or how would you market that course, or what do you see as the best opportunity for growth right now for someone in your position?
I think the biggest thing for growth is not an evergreen product, but something that doesn't service one person. So it's not just a one-on-one thing. So whether that looks like a workshop, a seminar, a short course, even doing like the space that I'm in at the moment is like a lot of Voxer, things like that. So Voxer containers, short courses, whatever. So like getting in your face in front of more people for probably like a median touch price point. So anywhere between $500 to $2,000 is a really good starting point to kind of get you into having one-on-one mentor and then just increasing your prices from there.
Yeah. I think as well, if you're looking at like, I think that's a great point. One to many.
Yeah.
Like if you're a business owner that is servicing clients, not like mentoring people, that you're servicing and front facing, I think like finding a way to get your product in front of more people for a lower cost, because the economy is tight right now. But using that, and this is a very heavy but, don't go in the road of just undercutting and going like lower price point, one to many approach that you can just like, sell and keep selling, because you're going to have to keep selling. Use that as an acquisition system to ascend people into a larger product.
Yeah. 100%.
What's some take home tips for people if they're struggling in business at the moment?
If you're struggling and you feel like you're failing, keep going, keep moving. Exactly like what we said. You only fail if you stop. What was the question? I went blank.
Tips for people struggling in business or that feel like they need a little bit of a reality check.
A reality check. So if you feel like you're failing, keep going. Don't stop. The only time you fail is when you stop. I would invest in yourself. You are always your safest fucking investment. Always. If you can learn, if you can grow, if you can evolve, if you can master the art of many different things, you are only going to have more success. And do things in your business that feel good for you. So this was a big thing for me. I did a lot of things in my business that I kind of was just following trends at the time years ago, and it felt really heavy for me, and it made me not want to be in my business, and I started retreating. And obviously when you start retreating in your business, sales start to go down and you're not moving forward. You're actually taking 10 steps back. So do things that feel really good in your business.
Yeah. I think that authenticity play is going to be massive. If you don't feel good doing it, you won't do it well.
No. There's no energy in it.
Yeah.
And people pick up on that.
Absolutely. I think we'll call it there. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks so much for having me.
Give everyone a little bit of a plug as to where they can find you and what you've got coming up in your world.
Yeah, so you can find me Kate Morris _PT on Instagram, which probably needs a bit of a change now that I say that, hey. I also have my own podcast, Oi Let's Talk, with one of my girlfriends, where we talk kind of fitness, mindset, business, all the things there. I am doing business mentoring, which I'm currently full for, but maybe by the time this podcast's out, I might have some spots. Okay, I won't have spots open by Sunday. I think I'm onboarding for April at the moment, and I'm running a couple of masterclasses and short courses, which you can find on my Instagram.
Wicked. Guys, make sure you go check Kate out. She's going to be a very integral piece of information, or person of information rather, that you guys can learn off. So thanks again.
Thanks so much for having me.
See ya.
It's only worth it if you work for it. It's only worth it if you work for it. I won't stop till they hear me now. I won't stop till I wear the crown.